What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel here with Guitar Control. Today, one of my favorite lessons, we're taking a look at all the major chords in a key and extending them from a triad into their 7th chord. So this is something that is really kind of easy to do conceptually. You may learn a couple different chord voicings that you haven't experimented with. You can change any single major chord in any song that you already know, songs that you're maybe writing or something for your own compositions, and give them a little more flavor, a little more spice. With just 2 different chord voicings and then finding out the space between them, the interval that they belong. So make sure you click the link below. I'm going to tab out what we're doing here so it's a little bit easier to follow along. Basically, we're going to start in the key of C. All right, so in the key of C, there are 7 notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then a lot of times you go back to that C. Again, that's an octave, right? So 7 different notes. 3 of those notes become major chords, and in any key, it's always the 1st, 4th, and 5th note of that key that become major chords. So the major chords in the key of C, the first one is C. D, E, F is the 4th note, so that becomes a major chord, and G also becomes a major chord, right? C, F, and G. That's why you'll always see a C major chord with an F major chord with a G major chord in a lot of different songs, okay? But in case you're kind of getting bored of these, there's one way that, well, there's actually a couple different ways, but there's one tried and true way that we can make these chords a little more interesting, and that's by adding an extra note to them, all right? So we're gonna start off really easily by making the C major chord here. Now we're gonna take a regular C major chord voicing, 3rd fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, open G, 1st fret on the B string, then open E string, and then filling it out a little bit more by taking your ring finger, putting it on the 3rd fret of the E string to make a G note, and then your pinky is going to take over on the 3rd fret of the A string. So this is just a fuller sounding C major chord. Now, if you pop your pointer finger off, you get a C major 7 chord, all right? Which really kind of has a very distinct sound. Some people think it's pretty, some people think it's melancholy. However you perceive it, it's something that you can always do to the C chord in the key of C. Now what I want to do a non-open chord voicing. I want to do something movable. Now when I say movable, it's like, okay, this is great knowing that this is a C major 7 chord, but if I try moving this, that sounds really bad. It only sounds great right here for the most part, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 8th fret on the low E string and make a chord voicing that looks like this. So my pointer finger is grabbing the C, which is the 8th fret on the low E string. I'm going to skip the the A string altogether, jump to the D string, ring finger, 9D, pinky right behind it, 9G, middle finger, 8B. Okay, so this is a higher voicing of that C major 7 down there, okay? Now, the great thing about this shape is it's totally movable. All I have to do is know what note my pointer finger is touching, and that's going to be that note's major 7 chord. So this is a C major 7, B major 7, B flat major 7, A major 7, A flat major 7, G major 7, G flat major 7, F major 7. This is the one that I want right here, the one that's rooted on the 1st fret of the low E string. Like we said, an F is another major chord in the key of C. C, D, E, F is the 4th note in that key. So we can turn that into this chord right here. Now the great thing is, there's a relationship between these two that we can really easily count off from the 8th fret, where that C is, to the 1st fret, where that F is. So now we can kind of like start seeing the relationship interval-wise. You know, you can think of like from the 1st fret to the 8th fret, you know, if that's like a 7 fret difference, however you want to kind of perceive that. That's always going to be the distance from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, if we're going down like that. Assuming we're in the key of C. We're going to add another one. Just like that, okay? Now that G chord right here is called a G7 chord, the 5th note in any key. C, D, E, F, G is kind of special because when we try to make that a 7th chord, it becomes a dominant 7th chord. So the 7th chord voicing, it only happens on that one scale degree in any key. It's gonna look like this. Okay, this is gonna be the chord voicing that we're gonna use. You may have even played a G7 chord before, open like this, or even. This is gonna be that same chord, but in a different spot. We're gonna do this one right here. Again, self-contained, movable shapes. My middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the E string. My pointer finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string, just like a G major chord, but my ring finger is gonna grab the 3rd fret of the D string, right? And then my pinky is gonna grab the 4th fret of the G string. All right, so now this is a 4-note chord voicing. It's gonna give you a dominant 7 chord, just like I said. Whatever note you're on, that's gonna be its dominant 7 chord. It's G7, G sharp 7, A7, A sharp 7, B7, C7. So real quick, let's just talk about the distinction sonically between a major 7 and a 7 chord. Let's do them both on the C. Major 7, dominant 7. Major 7, dominant 7. They're only 1 note difference, and if you can tell, it's going from here to here. It's called a flat 7. A dominant 7 chord has a flat 7. You know, if you're not super interested in the theory, that's fine. I personally think it's kind of interesting to know all that stuff, but what you do want to know is the sound of it, the sound of a dominant 7 chord. Always sounds unfinished until you get to the 1 chord, okay? So in the key of C, G is 5, C is 1. All right, now, again, the important part is having the distance between these chords down, kind of memorized a little bit, right? So if you know that this is the 1 chord, on the 8th fret, you can always go back to 1 to find the 4 chord. Wherever you're on the 4 chord, 2 frets higher, it's gonna be that dominant 7 chord, okay? So 1, 4, 5 chord progression. It's just like this. However you want to strum it. You know, how you execute it is totally up to you, but it's good to be able to kind of see these in different locations. Now I want to do one more and use these same chord voicings, or take the same chords and use them as different voicings rooted on the A string, okay? We're gonna stick in the same key. C major is gonna look like this. A string now is our root, this is our C, 3rd fret of the A string. Ring finger 5D, middle finger 4G, pinky 5B. Everything we're gonna do here is gonna be contained in these middle 4 strings. Now, last time we went from a C backwards to an F. Now we're gonna go higher. Okay, so the 3rd fret of the A string is where my 1 chord is in the key of C. Remember we said F is the 4. We can just count through the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. That 8th fret here is the F. So we can take that same chord voicing. Again, 3, 5, 4, 5. If we slide it down, now it becomes 8, 10, 9, 10. So from 3 to 8. 5 frets higher is going to be getting from the 1 in a key to the 4 in a key. Do the same thing to the G, the 5, but we're going to slightly change what we did there. Okay, remember, this is a major 7 chord. G major 7 would be 10, 12, 11, 12, which you can totally play it. You can totally play a C major 7, F major 7, G major 7, and it's not wrong, but when you're playing that G major 7, technically you're introducing a note that is not in the key of C. Again, it doesn't really matter if it sounds good to you. Use it, go for it. There's no music theory police that are gonna arrest you, but diatonically speaking would be the name for using all the notes in the key, and only the notes in the key to make your chords. It would be 10, 12, 10, 12, okay? Okay, so that's always gonna be 2 frets higher than where the 4 chord was. Now we can start mixing and matching up a lot of these because, again, you may have noticed that first chord voicing we did, the C major 7, on the 8th fret here. It might be easier to get to the F major 7 just by going down a string. C major 7, F major 7, instead of C major 7, F major Now the advantage here is you kind of get that slide. So, do you want the slide or do you want the efficiency of going down a string? It's really up to you. It's just kind of seeing these different major chord voicings, seeing where they are relative to each other is the best way to learn the fretboard, in my opinion, one of the best ways, you know? I think once you kind of see them as these are the spots where, you know, in your mind's eye, these notes light up no matter what key you're in. It's a great way to start making connections on the fretboard. It'll really kind of take your playing to the next level. Maybe incorporating more major 7, dominant 7 chords is something you want to do with existing songs. Really, more power to you. Now you have the knowledge. There's no excuses, which is why you click that link below to get all this stuff tabbed out for you. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Also, in the meantime, make sure you click on other videos around here by myself, other great instructors here on the Guitar Control channel. Always looking for your feedback, so let us know what you want to see more of, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.